I am, oh, thank you. For those of you who are new to Women in Health Together for the Future, I just want to briefly tell you a little bit about our organization. So our organization is a global women's health, primarily global South representation, working on women's health issues. And Shannon, can I ask you to just let people in the waiting room? If there's, um, we have representation from 24 global South countries. And we've given over 55 small seed grants to get programs started in women's health. We have also collaborated on cross-country research in women's health issues and developed women's health learning modules, which have been used in many countries around the world. We are currently working with the Network Toward Unity for Health to develop a community of practice resulting in competencies and guidelines, as well as a curriculum for primary healthcare providers so that they are skilled to be able to provide um, good care to women and to address women's health issues. As some of you may know, we have been following the theme of closing the women's health gap this with our webinars this year. So that is a World Economic Forum and McKinsey report, which demonstrated that $1 trillion could be contributed to the global economy if we address the issues preventing women um, from participating more fully in the workforce and in life. So our presentation today is one of those addressing one of the issues. The issues identified by that report were science, data, care delivery, and investment. And one of the issues about both science and data is the need for women's researchers in terms of being able to address women's health issues. It's been well demonstrated that many neglected women's health topics would be more effectively addressed if there were more women researchers in the biosciences. Um, and so there would also be likely be more women participants as people in clinical trials and the consideration of gender and social factors in health outcomes. Today, we are very fortunate to have Professor Nde, I'm probably not going to pronounce this name perfectly right, Nde Mareme Sugu, from the Sheikh Anta Diop University in Senegal, in Dakar. Professor Sugu has dual degrees in medicine as a pediatrician and as a social anthropologist. And so she has a very interesting perspective on addressing women's health issues and also doing qualitative research, which is an area that we have been wanting to address in more detail as an organization. So we're really happy to have her perspective on this today. This is research that she did on women in research in West Africa and in academic positions. But she has also done a lot of work on violence against women, women's autonomy and decision making, and a variety of topics addressing women's health issues in West Africa. We hope today to have her presentation and then be able to have an active discussion about her presentation and to really start to come up with ways that we can effectively address the issues that she's presenting to us. We are very fortunate today to have Professor Lucy Ferris from Trinity College in Hartford, who is an emeritus professor and a novelist and a writer in many areas, and also the director of the Afghan Female Student Outreach Organization, which is providing education to young women at home in Afghanistan. And she's also bilingual in French, and therefore will help us facilitate any questions or issues with the presentation this morning. So thank you very much, Lucy. Nde, I'm going to turn this over to you for your presentation, and we look forward to a very active discussion. So take notes, be prepared to ask questions, and hopefully we'll come up with some good creative ideas for addressing how to improve the situation of women researchers in health.
Thank
I
you.
turn it over to you.
Thank you. I will share my presentation. Oh, it's okay. Do you see the
Yes,
presentation?
it's okay. I was muted. I was trying to tell you, but yes, it's perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Um, thank you, everybody. Thank you for this opportunity to share with this audience. As a professor say, Professor Judy say, I am a French speaker. We have to be, maybe I can have some problem to communicate with you, but I try to do my best because this subject is very important. My name is Professor Naima Hemsugu. Professor Judy already presented me, but I want to say is that I work a lot on social inequalities, especially gender in health. As far as teaching is concerned, I teach public health and more specifically health evaluation methods. What makes my department special is the teaching of qualitative health research methods and also the contribution of the social science to public health. Today, I am honored to share this forum with you to discuss the barriers facing women health researchers. First of all, I'd like to highlight the low representation of women researchers in the field of science, and particularly in the academic world of universities. In the world as a whole, women are underrepresented, which means that their place in knowledge production remains very marginal. Even in developing countries, statistics on the percentage of women in research reveal worrying disparities. For example, in European Union, the proportion of women scientists is 41%, and it's much lower in Africa, which means that African research account for 2.5% of all research worldwide, and women account for only 30% in sub-Saharan country. But this figure conceals major disparities that exist on the continent, according to the African Development Bank. The disparities is more visible between countries in Africa. We can see in this figure that, for example, some country as mine in Senegal, female researcher account only for 29.3% in all researcher. Mali, 10.6. The same dynamic can be observed in other countries in sub-Saharan Africa. Women are poorly represented in the research community, and even more so in the decision-making bodies of academic and research institute. In 2019, for example, women accounted for just 29.3% of the teaching staff in all disciplines. However, women have always made a considerable contribution to science, and it's now accepted that the presence of women in the research arena would have a very positive influence on the extent to which women's specific health issues are taken into account. We don't forget to mention some remarkable women like Marie Curie as the outset of our talk. First woman to win the Nobel Prize and first person to win 2 Nobel Prizes in different scientific disciplines. But I want to talk also about Segenet Kelemu. She's an Ethiopian, and she is the
One
first,
important thing is that
she is the
this will
first
feed
woman
into
in
the
Croatia
report.
to graduate from college. And she was a molecular plant pathologist whose cutting-edge research aims to help small-scale farmers around the world. Just I want to show you that if we push the girl, they can change the world. In this slide, you can see a lot of African women researchers who win international prize. For example, you can see Faith Ozier. She's immunology and she worked in immunology and malaria. She wins the Sofia Kovalevskaya Prize, for example. Francis Tooney, she is Congolese, and also a lot of women, African women, who work in science and which impact in their community. This list is not exhaustive, but unfortunately, few of women reach their full potential in their careers, with low representation in the upper echelon due to the constraint we will see here. To do this, we set out to identify the barriers to the participation and academic advancement of women researchers in certain West African countries. The interest of this study lies in the fact that it will enable us to put forward solutions for the participation of women in science research, knowing that this, by contributing to diversity among researchers, will lead to higher quality research. We therefore conducted qualitative research. The advantage of conducting qualitative research in this type of study is that it allows us to go deeper into the opinions of study participants and understand social reality. If you asking question like how or why, qualitative research is the way to go. This is the case here, where we are trying to understand the structural causes of the difficulties encountered by women researchers in advancing their careers. Qualitative research follows the same stage as quantitative research. I have to say that. Beginning as quantitative research by a conceptual phase. It was during this phase that, or step, it is during this step we have to do a review of the literature, scientific literature. We identify then stem and substem, which later guided the development of the interview guides used to collect the data. In our study, the participants of this study were 21 women researchers and 9 men. All are working in the field of health research in West Africa. They came from 5 countries. It was Ghana, Senegal, Burkina Faso, Niger, and also Mali. The participants in this study range in age from 20 to 56, and reported years of experience are researchers ranging from 5 years to over 20 years. 30 years. Specifically, participants were at least 30 years old and held a PhD degree or equivalent with a minimum of 5 years professional research experience. It was In social science research, the size was determined as the data was collected, and we try to reach the saturation. The saturation gives the sample size. The aim was to achieve a richness of information. Thus, the size was not known until saturation has occurred and no new information had been generated. For this study, we make in-depth individual interviews conducted by video call using Zoom, because some country was far and we were trying to minimize the cost of the study. The interview guide with open question was guided by the theme. We will see later what theme and subtheme was used for the interviews. For the analysis, as you know, when we do interview in the qualitative research, we made what we call transcription. And after transcription, we used to do a thematic analysis from in vivo software, which help us to do this thematic analysis based on an objective and systematic analysis on the manifest content of the discourse of participants. What is the term we use? We use the thematic structure was composed of 4 main themes. It was organizational, culture, and institutional policies. We mean for that, we mean that organizational, culture, and institutional policies affect women's opportunities for advancement. Using Denison definition, Denison in 19 is a human research writer. He says that organizational culture is defined as underlying values, beliefs, and principles that serve as the foundation of an organization management system, as well as a set of management practice and behavior that both exemplify and reinforce this core principle. We can see in this term some subterm like gender inequal environment, office politics, organizational barriers, and for facilitator in the organizational academy can be leadership development or progress on diversity and inclusion. For another term, it was family and environmental barriers. For barriers, we can know that this term deals with the social environment that affects the freedom of creative expression of individuals in society. A society shares a set of moral and tradition, and it is characterized by collective activities, interests, and behavior. When a member generally deviates from the established norm and pattern of the group, his or her behavior is considered subversive and threatens the stability and security that others derive from group affiliation. This term will describe how the family and social environment interferes with the career advancement of women researchers. In this term, we can see some subterms like the position of women in the family, the position of women in the society and her responsibilities, and unequal work-life balance between family position and professional position also. We have another term. It was individual characteristic, intermediate perception of professional and personal success. This term deals with individual characteristics which describe trait of disposition, habit, and motivation uh, uh, of the individual, and which can help explain and predict his behavior. In this term, we can see some subtime also, like feeling lack of confidence, personal limitation, or behavior based on perceived expectation. We can see also challenging gender bias, it is some barriers, some symptom we can reach in this term. Another term is to search resilience strategy in the face of barriers to their career advancement. This study has enabled us to highlight the following result based on this term and subtopic we used for generate the guide of the interview. Here is some result. Regarding the organizational culture and institutional policies and practice. For most interviewers, women are underrepresented in the research community. In their words, they are underrepresented in most West African research institute and university. And according to them, this situation is not due to discriminatory recruitment, but rather to the general underrepresentation of women at school. Indeed, few women reach this level of university education where they can compete with men. Here, I try to give you one verbatim. The verbatim is in research, in qualitative research, is a section of discourse of someone which illustrates very well the overall discourse about a theme or a subtopic. This woman, age of 40 years, and said that in her university, the University of Ziguinchor is one of the University of Senegal. She said that they are at least they have 162 people who is teaching and who was researcher in the university, but only 10 women was researcher in this university. It illustrates that the women were underrepresented in the institution of research. Institutional discrimination is also present, often very discreet and implicit. At first glance, the interviewers stress that there is no discrimination in the way men and women are treated. However, they did report discrete disparities. With regard to the organization of work, for example, certain subordinate roles are systematically assigned to women, such as taking reports at meetings or distributing coffee or other snacks. When we are doing meeting, women are affected to this role too. The interviewer also pointed out the marital status, that the marital status has an impact on careers. This has an impact on access to position of responsibility. To illustrate it, that many female researchers have pointed out that certain position of responsibility cannot be held by a single or a divorced woman, because it assumes that being unmarried becomes proof that the researcher cannot manage other responsibility. She cannot manage family obligation, so she won't be able to manage high professional responsibilities either. For those who are on their own and still hold the leadership position, uh, in addition to doubts about their ability to occupy this position, there are also suspicion about the way in which their position were obtained, such as promotion on the back of what I don't sexual rumor about them. Uh, we have in resume, we have a lot of barriers related to the organizational, culture, and institutional policies in academic institution. In addition of these organizational barriers, the study revealed also family barriers. We can see this picture. In this picture, we see an African woman with a lot of responsibilities. It is gender role assigned to women within the family and social environment. And all these responsibilities are time consuming. And this makes it difficult for a female researcher to find the time to devote to research. The slowness of women careers is linked to the importance of family life. For most of the interviews, women play a central role in the family. She have to looking after the family, to cooking the meals, carrying the children, caring for them, and the elderly also. In short, the whole family. This time-consuming responsibility become a burden on their research careers. They are also at the root of many missed opportunities, such as mobility grants or research internship that have sometimes had to be abandoned, sometimes in favor of other male researchers. This is the case of a researcher who was forced to give up a mobility grant an internship in a research development in a foreign country in Europe after only 1 year to look after her husband. She says that even though she was not yet a mother, her husband had demanded her to return. And there is a lot of cases like this when we do the interviews with all researchers, for the most of the research. And all these responsibilities made slower the career progression of this woman. To add, in addition to family responsibilities, there are also equally time-consuming social responsibilities here in West Africa. Many societal roles are assigned to women, and female researchers are no exception to the rule. They must attend family ceremonies, socialize. These social rules relating to the gender role of women in African society, and its impact on the time that is supposed to be devoted to research. Here we can see a verbatim of an associate professor. She said that we have social obligation even though we are university women. We have to go to christening, that sort of thing, and she cannot be she have to do this kind of socialization because it is a gender role that is assigned to women in West African society. We have also other barriers. It is barriers we can see in the academic university and in the institution of research. In comparative terms, the woman interviewed feel just as competent as the men. For the essential competence, remains the only quality that should be valued in the research community. However, in the workplace, they are often labeled by their male peers. Some men have found for her qualities or thought that are linked to the gender. Women are said to be committed and professional, while others have argued that they can be moody and blame hormones. Here we can see some labels attached to them by the men, like the feminine touch can really be something good. They are often a bit at each other's throat, or a woman should not speak loudly, should not argue. This woman have to speak loudly because she have to do she have to teach, and all those labels. We don't put all the labels in this slide, but we imagine all the labels men can give to women because of gender perception only. And the women have to fight against these labels to prove their competency. That's why a lot of them speak about sacrifice. The notion of sacrifice came up repeatedly in the discourse of women researchers. For most of them, sacrifices have to be made to succeed in an academic career. It's so pity. For example, for this researcher, this woman, a university career requires a lot of sacrifice because what you have to do at university, you have to do it because you choose to do it. So nobody else is going to do it for you. Several strategies were listed and implemented by the female researcher. First of all, female researchers have to do planning, good planification. Planning that the woman researcher must do is to organize her time, knowing that she also has responsibilities to fulfill in her marital home and in the society. To reconcile the two, to make a good balance, some women researchers prefer to work at night after completing their household chores. Others, however, are resigned to their fate. They move forward. They say at their own pace to justify lagging behind their male colleagues. We have to say that the marriage for her is the main obstacle, the main barrier to women researcher career, according to our interviews. And several strategies also for getting around this social institution were listed by women researchers to continue and perform in their scientific careers. Some women researchers were happy to be divorced to pursue their career in peace. We can see this, I have, for example, one verbatim of one researcher is she had only 36 years old, and she says that marriage, in fact, is an institution that blocks women's matrimonial careers, because I found that the women who are the most successful are often women who have been married and who are finally relieved of the burdens of marriage, relieved of the problems of the husband or in-laws. Other researchers have chosen to work in polygamous household. We have to know that in West African countries, polygamous household is common. By being second wife in this household, they find time for research when their husband are with the other family. Uh, some women choose this kind of strategy to have time to do what they want to do in research, because research is their passion. For some, it's a question of entering a form of social homogamy. Social homogamy is the fact to marry in the same in the same professional category. Their strategy is to find themselves in the same intellectual environment as their husband. She will marry she will marry other research in academic institution, for example. This husband for her will be able to understand the investment that this woman researcher will necessarily have to make for research. For others, less numerous, the solution is to marry late. They are less numerous. For her, the solution is to marry late in life after having achieved certain status, advancement, or position of responsibility in their research careers. That's the strategies we found with our interviews in this research. We can say that this study has enabled us to show that the barriers facing women research are still numerous, but they are undoubtedly responsible for gender inequity in university and research institutions in West Africa. To help remove these barriers, it is necessary to go beyond the individual resilience strategy and promote gender-sensitive academic environments. That's why we propose or suggest some recommendation, and we highlight here some opportunities. But because we have to say that there is some hope. However, it will come through international political will female solidarity. We have some we have some opportunity like and we have mapping opportunities for innovation in women health. Also, we found female solidarity a lot in the net, a lot of developing network for the promotion of women by women through, for example, mentoring, as well as the training of women researchers in personal development or in leadership. To face, for example, the labeling male give to her in the world of research. The aim will also to be strengthen political advocacy to ensure that women are better taken into account in research through positive discrimination system, such as encouraging funding for women research and pushing all women to go through their to fulfill all their potential in the research academy. all these topics I share with you, we can see it in this publication we do in on that subject. I want to thank you for your attention, and I think that this opportunity is there for sharing what solution we can found for women research, for African women research particularly, but for all women research in worldwide, because I suppose that everywhere we can similarly barriers. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Over.
so much, Professor Sugu. That was a really interesting presentation, and I hope we can have some stimulating discussion now. I would like to ask you to take your slides down so we can see each other. And then I know Surika has her hand raised. I just want to start maybe with something which, okay, we've got a question in the chat too. My comment is of this about marriage being such a major barrier, and the fact that if they're divorced, they're considered a single woman and therefore are not trustable. If they're not married, then they don't know how to organize a household, so they're not trustable. And so marrying late doesn't really help. I mean, it's polygamy almost seems to be the answer. So I'd just be interested in your thoughts on that. And then we'll start addressing all of the hands that are raised, because I really would like this to be everybody participating.
Néel,
So,
vous voulez une traduction?
Non, peut-être parce que je vois qu'il y a beaucoup de collègues qui sont des chercheurs en Afrique de l'Ouest qui sont connectés. Peut-être si on peut avoir une petite traduction en français pour ces dernières, ce serait pas mal, je crois.
Ouais, alors, la question de Judy, c'est qu'il semble qu'il n'y a pas de, enfin, pas de solution. Si le mariage est, et si on est divorcé, on a des soupçons sur la femme, et si on n'est pas encore marié, on ne sait pas organiser la maison, alors on est soupçonné, et si on fait un mariage assez tard, on est déjà soupçonné, et donc il n'y a pas de solution sauf le polygamie. Le polygamie semble la meilleure solution.
Bon, moi, je pense que chaque solution est personne dépendante.
Ouais.
Je pense que chaque femme peut savoir ce qui lui convient le mieux. Peut-être que pour certaines, c'est se marier tard, peut-être que pour d'autres, c'est divorcer, parce qu'il y a également à prendre en compte l'environnement familial de manière générale. Ce n'est pas seulement le mari qui pose problème, il peut s'agir de la famille du mari, parce que ici en Afrique, la belle-mère, elle compte, la famille du mari a une importance capitale dans le foyer, et plus ou moins dépendant des cultures, cette importance peut être plus ou moins importante. Il n'y a
Okay,
pas réellement je pense que c'est personne dépendant, voilà.
Okay, so she's saying that it depends very much on the person, that we have to bear in mind that when you marry, you also are marrying into an entire family, and that your mother-in-law has a position of great importance. So that for some women, it may be better to marry late when they have a little more power in that marriage. And for others, it might be better to be divorced so that they need not only not be with the husband, but also not be with the larger family environment that is keeping them from succeeding.
thank you. Surika, and then Amani, and then Godwin also has a comment, so we'll get to that.
Thank you.
Surika.
Thank you. Thank you, Judy. Am I audible?
Yes.
Hello? Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you so
are.
much. Thank you, Professor Sugi, for not only a very wonderful research, but wonderful presentation. It was so lucid. And I must thank Judy also for bringing Sugu to us so that, we could understand the in-depth qualitative research which she has done. And I must say that we can draw a lot of familiarities between Western Africa and India. Though there may be a few people here, participants who may not agree, but yes, I would like to draw the familiarity that even in universities in India, people may just say that there is no discrimination. There is nothing. I mean, there are equal opportunities. Everything is there. There is no such discrimination. We give equal opportunity to women, but the social environment, the social framework is same. I mean, the other responsibilities which women have, the marital responsibilities, the responsibility for reproduction, looking after the children, taking care. So they all are considered priorities, more priorities than research. So I think that there are such a lot of things that are so similar. The patriarchal society, the gender roles which have already been decided for the women of taking care of families, in-laws, health of family members. So all these things impact the way the advancement of women is there. But I don't think there is anything like polygamous marriages in India. That is, I think, more so in the West Africa. So I do understand, and we are very fortunate to have this kind of qualitative research presented to us. And I must congratulate you, Professor Sugu. Thank you so much.
Alors, c'est plutôt, juste pour dire merci, mais aussi pour dire que l'Afrique de l'Ouest et l'Inde sont bien, on peut faire une comparaison parce que même qu'on dit que dans les universités, c'est tout à fait égal, il y a des opportunités égales entre hommes et femmes, mais il y a l'environnement social et les autres responsabilités qui sont déjà faites et il faut prendre garde des enfants et tout ça est considéré comme priorité et les rôles de genre sont déjà décidés. Et ça fait enfin un effet sur les recherches. Et il n'y a pas de polygamie en Inde, donc on n'a pas cette solution-là.
Thank you very much. It is very similar that responsibilities around social responsibilities around the woman, as in India and in Africa, is similar. There are weighted responsibilities that timing consuming for the research. And thank you for sharing. I think that we have the same problem.
Amani, and then Fatumata.
Thank you, Doctor. Do you hear me well?
Yes.
You hear me well?
Yes,
Yeah,
we
okay.
hear you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Sugu. Your presentation had a familiarity with all of us because I'm academician too, and I know my colleagues are academician. I'm a professor and researcher, and I faced most of the barriers you mentioned. Addition to barriers, unfortunately, from women colleagues, because not only from men, but women also. We have either the price with it, we either the ambitious kind of women or researcher or academician, they suffer a lot and they pass to burn out sometimes because they are overloaded and they are trying to prove themselves that they are successful in being a good wife and mother and researcher and so on. On the other hand, we have other women, researchers and academicians who are not ambitious and they select to use the minimum sharing so they can comply with the social and family obligations, and to satisfy their husbands and their colleagues, male colleagues. So they are sometimes worse in fighting their ambitious colleagues or ambitious women. If you say that we want mentors of women, sometimes they are very, very aggressive barriers. That's it.
Alors, elle dit qu'on a également les femmes qui font des barrières parce qu'il y a des femmes ambitieuses qui veulent faire des preuves d'elles-mêmes, qu'elles peuvent faire tous. Elles peuvent prendre garde de la famille, elles peuvent faire des responsabilités sociales et aussi des recherches. Et même pire que ça, sont les femmes qui ne sont pas ambitieuses, qui font enfin il y a des conflits entre ces femmes-là et les femmes ambitieuses. Et ça fait une barrière. On ne peut pas trouver vraiment un mentor entre ces femmes-là parce qu'il y a ou des femmes trop ambitieuses ou bien des femmes qui ne sont pas ambitieuses du tout et qui prennent toujours de priorité de la famille.
Thank you for sharing too. Yes, I think we can see those situations, but I believe in mentoring between women, and I want to know from you, what do you think about this kind of mentoring, about researcher, female researcher with a great leadership, which have a great position in academic institution, to mentor other women, even in other country in Africa or around the world. I think that this kind of mentoring can help a woman to have the how to say it, the force, to have the strength to go forward, to move forward for their career. Thank you.
I just want to make a brief comment and then we'll go to Fatimata, which is what you're writing, what Mani is talking about and what you're talking about still exists in the United States, but not to the degree. But when I started out a very long time ago in academia, I was one of 5 women faculty at a medical school. I think the competition between women, in addition to all of these other expectations, when the situation is like that, is definitely more fierce than when there are enough women for them to have the time to be able to mentor, as well as not have the excessive expectations that Professor Sugu is talking about. But Fatimata, I want to make sure we give space.
Oh, it's okay. Thank you very much. Congrats, Professor Marem. Did you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, thanks. Je vais continuer en français. Ah bon. Merci beaucoup pour cette brillante présentation, mais ça ne me surprend pas de Marem. Je voudrais discuter avec toi d'un point que tu as soulevé, notamment en termes de solutions, sur la, comment tu l'as appelé, sur la solidarité féminine. Des études montrent, je pense que l'une des premières démarches serait déjà de pouvoir se citer entre nous. Parce que les études, et je ne sais pas si Samira est dans le chat, est dans la réunion ou pas, dans le webinaire ou pas, mais elle avait publié un excellent article dans le Lancet où elle montrait justement que les travaux des femmes, les publications des femmes étaient moins citées que celles des hommes. Et ça, c'est quand même assez problématique. Et on se dit, mais finalement, est-ce que il y a une sorte de dévalorisation du travail des femmes ou une sorte d'invisibilisation du travail des femmes, des publications, hein, j'entends, des productions scientifiques. Et là, je pense que une des choses, déjà, une des démarches, quand tu évoques la solidarité féminine, est-ce que tu envisages cela aussi ou pas? Et un autre point, c'est un autre point que je vais soulever très rapidement pour laisser la parole, c'est la question des violences symboliques au sein de l'université. C'est-à-dire cette forme de violence invisible que l'on n'appréhende pas et qui passe par l'environnement institutionnel lui-même, qui est éminemment violent. La question de la faible valorisation des femmes, j'ai déjà dit, mais et ça, ce sont des violences qui sont invisibilisées et normalisées. Et au point que quand on en parle, on est à peine audible et quel que soit, on est finalement obligé d'être des activistes ou en tout cas étiquetés comme tels pour faire bouger les lignes. Et donc, voilà, ça fait au-delà de cette problématique articulation vie familiale, vie professionnelle, où très justement tu montres que c'est au niveau individuel qu'il faut trouver des solutions, parce que même dans le cadre de l'homogamie sociale, on voit qu'il y a des carrières suspendues. Les femmes, même mariées à des conjoints universitaires, suspendent les carrières sont en dents de scie et les hommes avancent beaucoup plus rapidement que leurs conjointes, aussi chercheurs, femmes. Et je vous remercie. Le sujet est passionnant. J'aurais pu en dire plus, mais je vais laisser la parole aussi aux autres. Je vous remercie. En tout cas, merci beaucoup et félicitations encore.
Judy, let me translate that question quickly, and then I'm going to have to leave. I'm sorry.
I know you are, and we're gonna be closing. I'm sending notes to everybody in the chat, so there won't be time to do this later.
The Fatimata's question has to do with the degree of citing of women's publications, that they're cited far less than men's, which devalues the research work of women. And within that, there's a kind of invisible violence that's being done to women's work, which calls on women to have to be real activists to move the line forward. And that when you see careers that have been suspended as a result, while men's careers move forward, you have to think about this a bit collectively, not just in terms of individuals. And thank you very much. And I have another Zoom. I have to...
Thank you very much, Lucy.
Okay.
We really, really appreciate it.
Enchantée. Au revoir.
Merci. Merci au professeur Fatoumata Anne pour cette contribution plutôt qu'une question. C'est un plaisir de la retrouver ici parce que c'est une femme leader dans le domaine de la recherche qui a beaucoup contribué à l'avancée de la recherche en santé, notamment de l'apport des sciences sociales. On a parlé des sciences sociales de la recherche qualitative. Professeur Fatoumata Anne est leader. Elle dirige un groupe de recherche très, très important. Et voilà, c'est quelqu'un qui a eu à occuper des positions, des hautes positions dans les académies sénégalaises. Donc, quand elle parle, je l'écoute avec attention parce qu'elle sait de quoi elle parle et je voulais la remercier d'avoir contribué. Effectivement, il faudrait nécessairement que cette solidarité se développe entre les femmes, que leurs travaux puissent être partagés, cités, mais également qu'elles puissent trouver des mécanismes de rendre les instituts académiques plus gender sensitive. Donc, in English, I would like to thank you, Professor Fatoumata Anne, which is a woman leader in our Senegal academic institution in general. She lead a scientific group, and she held high position in our university. And when she talk, it is interesting to hear about what she want to say because she know what she's talking about. She said about female solidarity. I think that it is one of the solutions. We have to develop network between female researcher in our zone of Africa and in other zone, but we have to develop it also in word around. It will help us to make more highlight our uh, our publication. But it is very important also to transform our university to be more gender sensitive. I would like to thank you to find to give us some solution to help women to be more more valorized or highlight in our university. Thank you for thank you for Over.
I'm sorry, Christina, I know we didn't even get to all the comments in the chat. This has been a very stimulating presentation.
Yes.
Professor Sugo has raised some very important issues. We clearly have a lot to talk about. I hope all of you will join us in the future to continue this discussion. We are a network. We are willing to work with you. We're trying to overcome some of the linguistic barriers that separate our work. And so I just again want to thank all of you for joining us today. Thank you for the link, Christina. I hope you will all join us on December 3rd for our next webinar, which will focus on health policy issues and gender. So thank you all once again, Professor Sugu. We really appreciate your presentation. And we hope to see all of you again in future presentations. Please look at the chat where Christina put a link in as well. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you
Yeah.
all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.